Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master hit cinemas in 1988. Freddy Krueger is back to take revenge on surviving teenagers from Part 3, Dream Warriors, and take on a new crew of youngsters. Audiences couldn't get enough of the wisecracker maniac, and this went on to become the most profitable of the franchise so far. Robert Englund was now a megastar with top billing in the films. Up-and-coming director Rennie Harlin added more fantasy to the mix, pleasing audiences and helped launch his career. He went on to become one of the biggest directors of the 1990s. Welcome to Beyond Graves and Stars. This is part 4 of our Elm Street and Beyond miniseries, our look at the Freddy Krueger movies. I'm Andy Martin, and this episode I'm joined by horror author and huge Elm Street fan, Lee Richmond.
Hello. Do you live here? Nobody lives here.
Real terror. How long has it been since you've been on Elm Street? Welcome to a brand new nightmare. He is the first in fear. Second to none.
Don't let them put you to sleep.
He has no mercy. And no equal. Now no one sleeps. Get ready. This August, the wildest dreams will come true. How sweet, fresh meat. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. The Dream Master.
Hey, thanks for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. How you doing?
All right, yeah. It's a nice miserable day outside, so
Oh, it's
perfect to talk about horror.
Yep.
So yeah, this is quite a long time coming. We spoke a while ago about coming on the show, and last time I saw you was at a convention where some of the cast members of this movie were there.
Yes. Yeah.
So and this is, from what you said, not is it one of your favourites, or would you say it's the last good one? I think is how you worded it.
It's the last good one, I think, until the 7th, until New Nightmare. It drops off rapidly after this with 5. That I don't really have a lot of time for 5, and then 6 is just awful. So 4 is pretty much the cut-off of the original run that I enjoy.
So so there'll be the next 2 episodes. So I'll see if I can get some conversations about them. But that's just before we start. Actually, let's talk a little bit about yourself, because you're a horror author. You've got several books out, and some of which I've actually read, which is good for me. My personal favourite is Poltergeist, which I recommend and would love to see a film of. Could you just give us a brief history of you and horror?
Yeah, sure. Well,
vague question, but let's have a go.
My love of horror kind of started when I was a kid. With simple things like Scooby Doo and that kind of thing. I love the monster side of that kind of. They always run into sort of like ghosts and Frankenstein and that sort of kickstarted it. And then I remember I used to sneak down and watch like Hammer horror movies, and I had a big love for the old Universal monster movies. Anything with sort of like Bela Lugosi or Boris Karloff. And then it got to a point where in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, I'd start sneaking around the mates to watch like slasher movies like Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then it got to the late 80s and early 90s. I kind of got on a bit of a video nasty kick and sort of went to a lot of like these stuff, a thing called the Eurofest in London, hosted by the dude who does Dark Side magazine. And they used to show banned sort of splatter movies at that, and you sort of like collect traders going around. You could collect like the hard to find VHS copies of these movies and stuff. So throughout my life, it's always been a growing interest in different types of horror, but it started at a very young age. I mean, I was the weird horror kid in school who liked all the everyone else was like in like movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger in and that kind of thing, and I was like, no, fucking horror movies is where it's at with me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, and saying about the guy that done Dark Side magazine, he's still doing stuff like that. I went to there's one in Romford actually that
yeah, we were supposed
he
to.
was going to be out. Yeah,
Marie went and broke a leg, so broke fractured a leg, so that kind of put the kibosh on that a little bit.
yeah, but he's still doing it, which is good, and there's still the interest, which is great.
Yeah,
So what do you remember like watching Freddy for the first time, the first movie of Nightmare on Elm Street film you saw?
yeah, I was 9. And I had a babysitter who had gone out and she'd rented the Nightmare on Elm Street. And the idea was that we got buggered off to bed, and but I kind of like persuaded her to let me sit and watch it, and it scared the living crap out of me. But I loved it. I was like hooked immediately. And then
Was it the first movie? Did you see the first one
yeah,
first?
I saw the first one first, and then not long after that, I saw the second when I was at a sleepover with a mate, and he bought it on VHS. His dad had this like amazing walk-in closet full of like videotapes of like, things like The Thing, all old John Carpenter movies, that kind of thing. And so we took a sneaky peek at the second one pretty much straight after, and I was hooked. I mean, I was a Freddy fan immediately.
Yeah, so you got into it pretty young.
Yeah.
And like myself, actually, because most of the people I've had on so far are at that age where we wouldn't have seen the earlier ones in the cinema. I mean, for me, the first one was A New Nightmare. I caught that on the big screen, but I was actually too young to see it then because I had a 15 certificate when it came out, and I think I was 13 and managed to get in. It's an 18 now. And did you see any on the big screen when they came out?
The first one I saw on the big screen was 5, and I was a little too young, but people didn't seem to care about that kind of thing back then. So we kind of bluffed our way in, and I saw 5. The other ones I'd seen on VHS. 4, I first saw this one on a pirated copy someone was doing the rounds at school with. But yeah, 5 was the one I first got to see in the cinema.
Yeah, cool. So by the time you're old enough to see it in the cinema, it was kind of when the franchise started to go downhill a bit. This was actually part 4 was the most successful one, and
Yes,
then after that, I think it's when it peaked, sort of commercially. Anyway, I think after this, maybe they'd released a few too many too quickly, and people were starting to get a bit fed up with Freddy.
yeah,
But also, you've got to look at, I mean, we'll talk about the directors and stuff. I mean, the guy who done this one, who just come off the back of, was it Die Hard 2, wasn't it?
I
No,
thought
so just before Die Hard 2. He come off
I
Prisoner.
had to based on this one, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It was Prisoner he done before that, or Prison, wasn't it? A sort of lower budget horror film that
Yeah,
there's a scene in the cinema. There's a cinema scene this, and the poster's up for it. I don't know if you've seen it from 1987.
yeah, yeah.
It's called Prison. Yeah. So that's why I was getting confused. Yeah, because his career just escalated. It's Rennie Harlin, isn't his name?
It's kind of
And
funny. I don't know if you ever saw the. Did you watch the Never Sleep Again documentary that they did? The big
a
5
while
hour.
ago, yeah.
Yeah. When they're talking about Rennie Harlin in this film, it's almost like they kind of just gave into him and tolerated him bumming around on the set, and he couldn't speak much English, and he apparently didn't smell too cracky and had no money, and they kind of just went with it. They're like, oh, I'll just let him do his thing. And strangely, like I say, he turned in the most profitable of all the Nightmare films up until Freddy versus Jason, I think.
Yeah, and his career went really uphill. He done after Die Hard 2, he done Cliffhanger, and then proper nosedive because he was the man behind Cutthroat Island, one of the biggest bombs of all time.
Yeah.
And now he's back into horror. He's doing that the Strangers trilogy that's sort of out at the moment, but no one really cares about.
No, I did watch the first part, and I thought, well, this is basically the original movie, so I don't know why I'm wasting my time.
Yeah, it was. There's an early scene like Richard Drake's in it really quickly, and then you don't see him again. So I
No.
imagine it's sowing the seeds for something better. But that film, I don't think it done very well, and critically got panned. But the
Yeah.
second one is on its way, and it's him directing as well. So
Or a trailer.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it interesting that he's gone back to horror after sort of getting some of the biggest movies ever, and his career really dropped.
I did like
but it's horror that
I did like that. Was it The Long Kiss Goodnight that he did? That wasn't a bad movie. The one with Gina Davis.
no, it wasn't.
No,
Yeah,
it
but that one really bombed as well, didn't it? At
Yeah.
the time. But I think that's where he met Gina Davis and they got married.
did they?
And yeah, and if you've read her, I've read her biography, and he seems like a weirdo, to be honest. But she should have stuck with Jeff Goldblum, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's chat about the movie because it's sort of kind of the sort of develops the fantasy element more, I'd say, in this movie.
Yeah,
After the I mean, not most people, but a lot of people's favorite sequel's Part Three, and
yeah,
that's one that like when I mentioned this podcast, everyone wanted to talk about, and I do love it, and I think possibly apart from New Nightmare, it's my favorite sequel.
yeah,
And then I think it's commercially, not commercially, critically, and for the fans, brought them back. So a lot of people at the time didn't like part two. So I
yeah.
think this was a difficult one to follow, and they get some of the cast back. And kind of what do you feel about the sort of the new and old characters in this movie and the way the plot goes?
I mean, it was nice to see some of the cast from Dream Warriors come back, although they recast Kristen for reasons that apparently nobody knows why they had. Some say it was a pay dispute, some say she was pregnant. There's no real clear
Yeah,
idea
no
of why
answer
that
at all,
was
is
done.
it?
But it was nice, but they don't last 5 minutes.
No, and they I usually sort of go through the kills in the movies that we could briefly do if you're up for that. But early on, they basically take the original cast members out one by one very quickly.
Yeah,
Um, and it's which yeah, especially as a kid, I love seeing the death scenes in these movies.
oh
But I
yeah,
find it a bit they've survived the first film, and you actually rooting for these characters more than if they'd just appeared,
yeah.
and then they're gone.
It
Um,
kind of reminds me a little bit of Alien 3, where you've invested in these characters from the previous movie and they're unceremoniously just dispatched. And you're like, well, that was a little bit anticlimactic. And it kind of cheapens the battle that they had in the last film. So
yeah,
it's a shame
definitely.
that they decided to I know they wanted to introduce a fresh crop of characters, and I like Alice as a final girl, if you like, but yeah, I find it kind of cheapens the film before it a little bit because they're
Yeah,
unceremoniously easily dispatched, and you think, oh, okay, fair enough. You'd have thought they'd put more of a fight than that.
yeah. I mean, and if that was in the script, that might be one of the reasons that Patricia Arquette actually didn't come back if she'd
Maybe,
have known that. But my theory on that is that she was getting better offers and just because she did go off to get, she was in like True Romance and
yeah,
some really big films after this. So I think she kind of wanted to. She didn't want to be stuck into that horror movie actress thing, which actually like Tuesday Night, who took over, did become, didn't she?
yeah,
She's sort of only known for horror and a singing career because she does the music at the beginning of the film. The song it's called Nightmare, I believe.
yeah. That's right. But apparently, her dad was a famous musician and singer. He wrote
Ah,
songs
okay.
for like Elvis Presley and Perry Como and stuff like that. So
It might have something to do.
yeah, but so
um,
that's a banging tune though. Nightmare is great. It's on one of my
yeah.
playlists. My wife's always like, "What is this?"
So I like the whole soundtrack for this. Really, there's a lot of bangers on it. I'd say.
Oh yeah,
And there's one song which I forget the name of, and I can't, is it Drama Rama? Is that the
yeah.
name?
Drama Rama's the band. I think it's anything.
That's it. Yeah, because I literally went to the cinema last night and was on my way back to watch this again, and my Spotify movie playlist that came on, and I was
Yeah,
like, I know what I had to look up what film it was on, and because I just I hadn't seen this for a while, and
yeah.
then coincidentally, and also the film I saw last night was Die Hard 2. So it's
Oh,
all like fate that I'm doing this film today.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, going back to those kills, I mean, the first one in the junkyard, that's it's almost like they could have shot that the same time as the end of part three. Obviously, they didn't. That
yeah.
one seems a bit rushed to me. And we can't not address the Freddy coming back with the dog pissing scene. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was in that documentary I was watching where apparently they were filming something next to the soundstage where James Cameron was filming something, and he sort
Yeah.
of like facetiously said to him, "Oh, how do you bring Freddie back this time?" And Rennie Harlin was like, "Oh, we have a dog piss on him, piss fire on him," and I think that was before they'd decided that was actually how they were bringing it back, and they thought, "Nah, let's just do that." So, some off the cuff comment, they thought, "Nah, sod it, we
Yeah.
actually will have a dog piss fire on him."
Yeah, I quite like that because it is that, the fact Cameron's joking about him coming back, so why not just do it something ridiculous? No one really cares. They just want him back.
I think it's supposed
It's
to
a
like
sort
represent like a hellhound or something, and that's
yeah, that's what Robert England said since, isn't it?
yeah.
That so it probably is, but I always find that amusing. As a kid, I did.
It's dark,
I still
but
do.
I quite
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. And then the next death, which is the one where it's Joey who, he went through hell in the last film and survived, and then they take
Yeah.
him out really quickly. This one, Billy Idol's playing,
Yes.
um, which is quite cool. And once again, Joey is tempted by the ladies
Yeah,
because
that
in
is
part three it's a nurse and it's a bikini. Is this sort of a
let's try and
message
pretend.
about.
Let's try not to pretend for a minute that we wouldn't both end up in exactly the same situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Freddie's taken people out by the things they love,
Yeah.
bikini models might be one of them. So, but I like this one. That sort of sucked into the waterbed,
Yeah.
and then later the mother discovering the body in a weird way. That's one thing with these movies that they sort of brush over the ridiculous ways the bodies are often found,
Yeah.
and that you'd get media attention and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also that, what does that help with the plot? It's like one of my personal favourites, Teen Wolf. He wouldn't just be playing basketball even as a wolf. They'd do something about that, wouldn't they?
They'd probably be
You know?
experimenting on him.
Yeah, that's a different. That's more of a horror film. I'd
Yeah.
still watch it. So Joey's taken out pretty quickly, and then after that, you've got Kirsten who's gone. Oh, another thing I was going to ask you, actually, I mentioned it in part three. What are your thoughts on her mum? Because a lot of people seem to think she died in the third one
The mum,
with the yeah.
to be honest, it never
Um,
even occurred to me. I mean, she does have a head taken off in a dream in the third one, I think it is, isn't it? But
yeah.
I never really took that to mean that she was dead.
No, I mean that might have been in that documentary it was mentioned. Somewhere I was listening to interviews about it, and to me, I always thought that was just in a dream because her
Yeah.
head was chopped off and it's talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and then it's Kirsten who is this the Jaws bit?
Yeah, on the beat.
Yeah, which is one of the silliest bits in the whole franchise, I think.
Yeah.
It's still quite fun.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's the thing with this film. You can nitpick at it all day and say, "Oh, it's really stupid. It's daft as a brush," and it is, but it's a fun movie.
yeah, definitely. And I think
Don't-
Robert England said it was his favourite performance
Yeah.
out of all of them, and he's got a lot of the one-liners are coming thick and fast in this one, but in this one, most of them kind of hit, whereas in the next two anyway, some of them just seem a bit lame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Robert England has all the best lines. I mean, the thing with this film is I do find that the dialogue amongst the teenagers, especially, is kind of cheesy. Like written by somebody who probably never listened to teenagers talking about anything, but all the best lines come from Freddy. And I don't know if Robert England ad-libbed much of it, but they don't seem to fall in line with the cheesy dialogue given to the rest of the cast. I mean, I rewatched it yesterday to take a few notes, and the dialogue is so cheesy.
yeah, and it's that there's one line from is it Debbie? There's a guy sort of insults her, and it's basically just ripped off like a Woody Allen line about only man with penis envy or something.
Yeah.
It's like teenagers wouldn't talk like that at all.
No, it feels really I met Brooke. Is it you pronounce it Thies? I can't remember.
I was hoping you'd know how to pronounce that perfectly, so I didn't have to.
Well, I didn't. Sorry. I met her at that convention that I bumped into you at. She was lovely, but that's what she wrote on the photograph that I had signed by her. It was like, "Hey yo, needle dick" or something, which my wife thought was hilarious.
Yeah, she asked me what to write, and because I met her as well, and she said that, and I was like, "No, put something about Dynasty," because the fans, the characters are big, or Dynasty or Dynasty, however you pronounce it, fan, and she mentioned that a few times.
Yeah,
so I didn't really want that written on my thing, but then later on, I got something else signed by her, and she wrote it without asking, so I got it anyway. I think it's just every bloke she wants to insult, but no, she was really nice.
She was a sweetheart. I've been talking to her for a good long while, and she was really lovely.
Yeah, and she sort of really embraced.
I've met a lot of different people from all the Elm Street films, and they're all generally really lovely.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's sort of come round that a lot of them at the age they were at, they were like, this is the beginning of their career, and if they didn't develop into anything else, they might have been a little bit bitter for a bit. But they've got the fans, and they've got careers doing conventions, all of them, if they want it.
Yeah, sure.
And she said some really nice things it was in a Q&A about how a lot of sort of youngsters have spoken to her throughout the years about how they can relate to the characters, and those teenagers got them through bad times.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And growing up, I didn't, for me, it was like I just wanted to watch the splatter and the gore. But you don't think about, like, say, in part three, the nerdy character into D&D. I imagine a lot of people related to that.
Yeah.
And even her character is like the fitness freak, isn't she?
Yeah.
Which is something I certainly don't relate to.
No, I can't say that I
Um,
really relate to that much
yeah.
either.
But yeah, I mean, it is that I mentioned it in the one of the podcasts, how sometimes the kids in a different light could have had like a Party of Five or Saved by the Bell type show around these different characters,
Yeah.
because they're all, they're all a bit, they're all different. They make them, they it's kind of like the Breakfast Club, different kids from different subcultures all seem to come together
Yeah.
against Freddy. Which is maybe me looking at it in a bit of a too positive light, as in, they might have just done different characters to attract different viewers, but I don't know. But I always like the dynamic between the teenagers anyway, especially in this one. I
Yeah.
think there's a good bunch there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Even though Dan's a bit the sort of handsome young man's a bit of a 2D character, if you ask me.
Yeah, and he never really develops in the next one either. I mean, they don't give him a chance because he's killed off. Spoilers: he's killed off pretty early in the in part 5. But yeah, I know you're saying he's a bit of a sort of cardboard cutout of the jock boyfriend.
Yeah, a very needy man.
Yeah,
so if they
played him after 9/11, joined the Marines and went off to fight in the Middle East or something.
Really, that's why he's not at the conventions then.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I don't think now, but yeah, apparently after 9/11, he was inspired to join the Marines and go off and fight.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. But I was thinking as well with his character, when he's in distress and keeps shouting for Alice, I'd love to do a drinking game where every time he says Alice, do a shot, because I don't think I'd last very long.
That'd be a messy night.
Yeah. So once the characters are being killed off, you've got so Alice takes over as the main protagonist, and you work out that she kind of gets, this is where the fantasy comes in. She gets the powers of, because she ends up luring the other teenagers to their deaths.
Yeah.
And this is where it's a bit different. She gets their powers, which later on she uses against Freddy.
I think that's because Kristen tries to give her a power of dragging people into the dreams, but it gets filtered through Freddy. I think she hits Freddy first by accident, and then because Freddy takes the power from the souls he collects, I think that kind of messes with Kristen's power, and then gives Alice the power to like incorporate the other various skills and powers of all her friends when they die. That's the impression.
Yeah, it's open for interpretation, but it is one of those things that, looking at this for a podcast, analysing it more. When I was a kid, I didn't really think about it. I just enjoyed it, and it's another thing that comes up a lot of these podcasts. It's like, what are your thoughts on? I always talk about we watched these as kids. I mean, and there's always teenagers in it who are meant to be sort of 15, but yet there are 18 certificates and R certificates. Do you think they were kind of made for kids?
The first couple, no, but from Dream Warriors onwards, maybe they started to get a bit more cartoony.
Yeah,
a bit more. It's less, the horror element kind of subsided, and you was left with more sort of gory slapstick in some occasions, and it's very cartoony. Even the violence is cartoony at times. It's not like exactly. It's not stomach turning. It is cartoony. So maybe I think they knew that there was an audience with younger people, and even though they couldn't like lower the rating, they still knew what they were doing. They still aimed it probably at a younger audience. Because I mean, I was at school and people loved Freddy. I mean, it was really popular. Yeah,
this is the thing. But we mentioned that this was the biggest box office hit. I mean, it cost $6.5 million and it made $49 million.
Yeah.
But it must have made so much on video rentals, because that's how us youngsters at the time were getting hold of it.
Yeah.
So they were big at the cinema, but they're probably even bigger when they came out on video.
Yeah.
And I can remember like the big cardboard cutouts of Freddy in the video shops and that sort of thing. I think Freddy Krueger was the one, Jason as well, I suppose, that got a lot of people of our age into horror.
Yeah.
It was like our generation's, Universal or Hammer, like two things you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
This was the ones we had growing up, and it was something different, and it was something for us, which, have really younger generations had that since? You've had, I suppose, Scream, which is on the tail end of this, and then
Yeah.
you've got the sort of torture porn stuff, and then it's all mostly now. I mean, it's sort of come around a bit now, I suppose, with things like Black Phone and
Art of the Clown.
yeah, arts, the big one, isn't it? But there was that little gap where it was all sort of Hostel and Saw, and I think that's where, even though those films done well, where we didn't have
Well,
the Halloween costume people,
I don't really. I mean, I've never really cared for the Saw films because the first one I really liked, and then it became like a conveyor belt of people you didn't care about because you didn't get time to care about them, just being like shipped into these different ways that they die horribly, and it was hard to root for anybody. So they never. I like more character driven stuff, and as you said a little while ago. With the Nightmare films, you did care about the kids. You kind of rooted for them, even though everyone was like really there for Freddy. It still helped that the kids were always likable. So I think the whole torture porn thing, for want of a better word, never really appealed to me because there's no character.
exactly, yeah, and in those as well. I mean, there's the Jigsaw character who doesn't do a lot, in my
No,
opinion, and he's not fun. Whereas it's kind of weird, but a good weird in Nightmare on Elm Street. You do root for the kids, but also you like Freddy, so it's
yeah,
just an enjoyable experience watching it.
yeah. I mean, Freddy was a rock star of he was
Yeah,
basically the Elvis Presley of of horror villains. He's
yeah,
on lunchboxes and posters and T-shirts. And it's strange to think because the reason I mean, there's a lot of reasons the remake of the Nightmare on Elm Street didn't land very well, and one of them was because they made it very clear that like Freddy was a sex offender,
yeah.
and obviously I get that nobody wants to root for that, but it always makes me laugh a little bit that we could get behind somebody who's a child killer. That's perfectly okay
Yeah.
and can be like
Yeah.
a anti-hero, but they went too far with that, and you're like, oh no, that's not okay.
Yeah, well, that's something
Line
that we touched upon in the first episode when Lauren Jennifer was on the show. It's like she had a really good point of when when it's a murderer, it's kind of like a grim fairy tale, you
Yeah,
know. Um, uh, you know, Freddy almost like eats the children, like in a fairy tale.
yeah,
Whereas if it's something else, which I'm trying to avoid certain words so we don't get caught up on the algorithms and stuff, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
Um, it's it's just worse. It's you don't want that face on a t-shirt.
No,
And then I heard as well that originally they were going to push that more in the first one, but because of some court case or something what was coming up at the time, they changed it to a murderer, well, just a murderer, and very slightly hinted at the other stuff,
yeah. I
which I
mean, there
think
are stuff
totally,
that Freddie says throughout the series and make you think, yeah, okay,
yeah,
obviously that
yes,
implication, but yeah, it's funny that
yeah. So
there's a line that you won't go over. Like you're killing, fine. The other,
yeah,
not so
yeah,
much.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weird, but it definitely works and it helped the franchise. I think that if it had been the other one, we might Freddie wouldn't have become what he is now.
Yeah,
Which let's face it, we're glad we've got.
yeah,
And I think just going back to the aimed at the youngsters and stuff. I also noticed that throughout the movies, you see less of the adult characters. Like in this one, you've just got like strict teachers and alcoholic parents, but no real relationship between them and the kids or them and each other.
yeah,
Whereas in the earlier ones, there is that, the backstory and the parents all know each other.
yeah.
But I suppose that's the way it's developed.
But
And
yeah,
also,
sometimes it's what was there was another film that did that where like you only saw the parents like brief. You never is it. Oh, what was it? Anyway, you never saw the parents properly. You only saw like a part of them. Or it's Let the Right One In, where you
all
never
right,
see
yeah,
the
yeah,
old lad's mum. And the idea behind that is it adds more of a sense of peril because there's that not that safety net of parent. Like you
yeah,
kind of feel that the child's on their own and more isolated. It's a clever tool for like adding the jeopardy to the story for
yeah,
the child. They haven't got like the parent to fall back on as
yeah,
kids would.
yeah,
If you were in danger as a kid, you'd have fallen back on your parents, and there's not that safety.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's the same reason that I think in Stranger Things, some of the kids haven't got parents at all.
Yeah.
They never mentioned them. Or they didn't used to. I don't watch that anymore. I've got to be honest. I give up on it.
You don't.
No, I should. I'm not good with TV. That's the
Takes so
thing.
long to make a
I
scene.
can
It's going to be older than me soon.
exactly. Yeah. So, but also it's like I always moan that I don't watch. Well, I haven't got time to watch TV series. But when I went to log this on Letterboxd, I've watched. This will be the fifth time I've logged this film. In probably I've been on Letterboxd 5 years, so I
Yeah.
probably could if I stopped watching these films over and over. But I'm not going to do that. So there we go. Um, Also, a few things nothing I noticed actually this time, and I never noticed it before. It's probably obvious to most people, like a few little references, like the diner's called the Cave Inn, as in Craven.
Yeah.
Had you noticed that?
Raven. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I hadn't, not at all, and I probably had, but forgotten that the dog's called Jason, isn't it? That
Yeah.
does the
I don't know
urinating.
if that was intentional or what, but yeah.
I reckon it must have been by this point. What was it, 88?
Yeah.
So yeah, so Jason would have been hot on Freddy's heels, in the sort of t-shirt sales and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we briefly mentioned it. But what are your thoughts on the cast in general? You mentioned we've mentioned Debbie, haven't we? Who I think's good. There's
Yeah.
a sort of a different character. She's kind of sporty, but also kind of punk rock, which is a interesting sort of mix.
Yeah.
And Lisa Wilcox as Alice, who went on to be in the next one.
I think
And
Alice is great. I think Alice is one of the most interesting characters in the entire series because it was nice that how they handled her from going from sort of like meek and like shy and quiet to like completely changing over the course of the film in a way that I felt was quite effective and believable. You sort of like she was finding a voice and a power to eventually go up against the big bad. I think Alice is probably one of the most interesting characters in the entire franchise.
yeah, definitely. And also the name Alice, that could be another Friday the 13th reference because
I
it
always
was
took it
Alice in.
as an Alice in Wonderland one because
Yeah,
when she
he
dives through
mentions
the
that,
mirror
doesn't
and
he?
goes into Wonderland kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, maybe just coincidence with the Friday the 13th. Maybe it's me looking for it.
Maybe
But yeah, she's great. And have you met Lisa Wilcox as well?
I did, yes, about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. She
Yeah,
she signed my picture as your one major league hunk, and I know she probably signs that to everybody, but I choose to believe that that was meant.
just you. Yeah, I won't tell you what she wrote when I met her, because it was the same thing.
Oh,
But anyway, but yeah, she was really cool, and another one who really embraces the whole franchise. And who's the other one? Is it Toy Newkirk is the sort of nerdy girl with the asthma attack.
Sheila, is it?
Yeah, Sheila,
Yeah.
yeah, who was meant to be at the con we were at, but she wasn't there. This was another good kill, I think, and it's Freddy going back to sort of framing things as a suicide, well, not suicide, but accidental death,
Yeah.
because the waterbed scene, you can't. There's no explanation for that. It's
Yeah, that makes
crazy.
very little sense how you're like trapped in a completely untorn waterbed.
Yeah, yeah, and but it's yeah. Sheila falls asleep in school, and it looks like an asthma attack.
Yeah.
And these are the kills that, I mean, I like them all for different reasons, but I like seeing the reaction of the people around. And this one is harsh because she dies in a classroom,
Yeah.
and then you see the body being taken out. Like the whole school are there watching it.
Yeah.
And I think these deaths for me anyway have more of an impact and feel more real than
Yeah.
say either of the bed scene we keep mentioning or like Johnny Depp's death in the first one,
Yeah.
which is, I feel so sorry for his mum walking in on that. That's mad.
That's gonna take a
And
hell of
then
a
it's you'd think they'd do something in Elm Street. It's like these kids keep dying, but they're just like, nah. And they all go back to school the next day. Everything's fine. And it's
well,
Kirsten's mum.
that was the only interesting part of A Nightmare on Elm Street 6 when they went back to Springwood and there's no kids.
Oh yeah.
The adults have kind of gone a little bit around the bend. It's a completely childless town, and you got the teacher in the classroom teaching no one about Freddy, and that was a really interesting concept in a really poor movie.
Yeah. I mean, part 6, I'm going to be rewatching that soon. But
Yeah.
all I remember about that really, I'm not. That's one of the ones I watched the least. Is it's just like that. That's Philip with cameos, and then there's the 3D bit.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what my take is on it now. But I was going to say that it's Kirsten's mum when early on in the film, her friends just died, and she has no sympathy at all,
No.
and it's almost like I think they could have developed on it more. You always see the adults drinking to that's clearly to deal with what they've been through,
Yeah.
but the whole denial of it all is hinted at as well.
Yeah.
But they, that's sort of, just something I pick up on other watchers.
Oh yeah, that dude sucks. I mean, the daughter's friends have all just died, and she's like, "Oh, you'll be all right. Get some sleep, have something to eat, get on with it." It's always felt bad.
It's almost, it's almost like if she knew she's trying to kill her, and she says that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's strange, but I think some of that comes from having different directors and different writers. Just the flow of the films as a franchise don't always work perfectly.
No.
But I see part 3, 4, and 5 as kind of a trilogy. With the sort of Alice comes into it via Kirsten. And then I also see part 3, 5, and New Nightmare as the sort of Nancy Wes Craven trilogy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interweaving, and then you've got like the part 6, which is kind of the estranged weirdo child that if he doesn't come home, who cares?
It hasn't got as confusing as the Halloween films yet, though. Thank God.
Oh God, no.
There's so many different timelines. This.
Yeah, that's one thing with franchises. I don't like it when they do it. Like an example in Halloween when Jamie Lee Curtis's character dies, and then in a sequel later on they just forget that.
Yeah,
I think you should have to stand by whatever, even if it's another filmmaker, you should stand by the continuity.
Yeah,
because it just gets confusing. And also another pet hate of mine is when there's a sequel and it's got the same title as the film, the original one.
Yeah, that is lazy.
Yeah, I saw your review of I Know What You Did Last Summer, by the way.
I hate that movie so much.
A lot of people did. I thought it was all right. But
I wanted to like it. I really like. I have a real soft spot for the first two, even though the second one makes no sense whatsoever and the plot is just ridiculous. I still kind of like it. I remember seeing it at the cinema and enjoying it, and it's an endearing film for all its flaws. And obviously, I love Jennifer Love Hewitt as well. And I thought, oh, great, she's back. I really want to like this film, and I hated every second of it.
Yes. Have you seen the third one?
Yeah, but I always forget it exists.
Yeah, that's terrible, but it is it's not the same characters, so that's more forgivable, I suppose.
It's supernatural, isn't it? I think he is supernatural entity in the third one.
I think so. I've seen it once, and just let's say very, very forgettable. So just going back to this, we've mentioned the cast, some of the kills. I mean, have you a favourite kill in this movie?
Oh yeah, it's Debbie's.
Yes,
it's amazingly inventive. It's so inventive. And the special effects are just like on point. Like Screaming Mad George did the effects, who did the stuff for like Society and Reanimator and that kind of thing. And it's his special brand of gooey, horrible effects. Like the whole arm snapping off thing. They're brilliant. They when they hit the floor, they don't look like plastic prop arms. They're like jellyish. They look like real arms. It's just a brilliant.
It kind of wobbles as it hits the floor.
Yeah,
it's amazing. That's my favourite of this film, and one of my favourites of the whole franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
Really stands out, and it's got the humour of Freddy. The whole because he ends up in a box and crushes her, and it just looks fantastic. It looks.
It's also it's also really spiteful. I mean, taking somebody's deepest rooted fear, in this case, like bugs, so making them become that thing that they can't tolerate is like a really spiteful way of killing somebody. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the thing. He kills people either by something they love or something they hate, doesn't he?
Yeah.
There's a little bit early on in this movie when you first meet Debbie, and she's really freaked out by bugs or whatever it is at that point, and then to bring it around. And so this has got a $6.5 million budget, so it is a lot higher than the first one.
Yeah.
But it looks great. They've put that budget to such good effect. Those effects, and then the final sort of Freddy dying at the end looks very Society as well.
Yeah.
And it just, it's so good. And I always have this moan, but if these films were made now and were all CGI, I think they'd be terrible.
Well, I mean, you only have to look at the remake of A Nightmare for that one. I mean, they
Yeah.
had a higher budget. It's like, for example, in the first one where Nancy's fallen asleep and Freddy sort of pushes his way out the wall.
Yeah.
And that was originally done. I think they had like this basically a big bit of rubbery wall, and they pushed themselves forward through that, and it looks amazing. And then in the remake, it's a CGI effect, and it looks awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love in the final battle, Freddy versus Alice. What happens to Freddy and his body, and there's a cameo as well, comes out of his stomach. Do you know who that is, don't you?
That's Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, and you very briefly see it. So I remember being a youngster, and I'd see films like Creepazoid, and she was in loads, obviously Return of the Living Dead, and I heard she was in this, and I'm like, where? And it was sort of pre-internet working out where she is, and it's very brief. But if you look her up on like Letterboxd and stuff, this will be like in her top 5 films.
Yeah.
But that's she was by that point a horror icon, so it's a nice little nod, I thought.
Yeah.
But the effects in this they're up there with the best in the franchise, I'd say. Nothing looks ropey.
No,
I'm
a huge advocate of like practical special effects. I would pick practical special effects all the live long day over CGI, especially in horror. I don't think CGI has much of a place in horror, and practical all the way. And so they're fantastic, like you say. Probably the best in the franchise.
Yeah, and CGI should be used to touch things up. You shouldn't be able to know something's CGI.
No, exactly.
And that's going back to James Cameron. It's like back in '97, the CGI in Titanic was used to great effect. I thought mostly because you wouldn't know. And the Beauty and the Beast like lampshade thing. Lampshade. The ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast, the animation.
Yeah.
Not a lampshade. It's early in the morning for me, and I've had a Red Bull. That's I think one of the reasons. There's many reasons why we still talk about the Freddy movies, but those practical effects are fantastic. Yeah. And there's buckets of blood, not CGI blood. Which there's been films I've been really enjoying, and then there's CGI blood, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
That's why I can't stand watching the later Final Destination movies, especially the ones they did in 3D where the blood just looks ridiculous. It's like, why not just throw a bucket of blood at the camera and it would just look so much better?
Yeah. Go to the shop and get some tomato sauce. It's not that expensive. So, So, anything else you want to add on this film? We've sort of gone through it without going, not talking through each step, but we've mentioned most of them, I think.
Yeah.
And the plot's relatively simple, but there is good character development, which you pointed out in this, and the growth of Alice is something that really stands out for me in the films she's in.
She starts the film as a completely different character to the way she ends it, and then when part 5 comes around, she's a much stronger, stable character. It's night and day between the start of the 4th film and the end of the 4th film, where she's sort of learned to fight back and taking all the good things from the people that she's lost and stuff. I like that. Like I say, it makes her the most interesting character in the entire. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Nancy. Nancy will always be numero uno, but I do like Alice as a character.
Yeah, and there's that amazing montage scene as well before she goes into battle.
Well, the nunchuck one.
I love that.
With the back, you can tell it's a stunt person because the wig is awful.
But that's so 80s, and and it's getting towards the end of the 80s by this point, 1988. And you got to think Freddy is the biggest icon out there at the moment. And I like this film. I think a lot of people, they say that only the first 3 are good or the first 3 are nightmare. But for me, this is a fun film. And it's definitely got, as I said earlier, I've seen it more than I thought over recent years. It's definitely got that rewatchability because of the funness. It's an easy one to just chill out to,
I think you've got to watch it for its different merits. I mean, as far as like a horror movie goes, especially a scary one, no, it's no good. It's not. I mean, the first one is obviously clearly a quite dark horror film. Even the second one, I mean, I always say in the second one, Freddy's never more evil than he is in part 2. The way he's taunting Jesse and his makeup is the best makeup in the series in part 2. And then he becomes a bit of a sort of comedy character from then onwards. But if you watch part 4 as a really clever inventive, entertaining, fun movie, then you're gonna have a good time with it.
Yeah. I mean, the next episode, part 5, which I'm doing with Adam Wybray, who's a film scholar. He's he done the Phantasm season with me. We went
Oh,
through all the
okay.
films,
Yeah.
and he rewatched the Freddy films. Well, the first few, and he hadn't seen 4 and 5. And
Okay.
he's already told me that he really enjoyed them because he's more into the fantasy side of horror than the scary side.
Yeah.
So he could relate to parts 4 and 5 more than the first 3. He It's a bit of a preview for the next episode. Really enjoyed them more than he thought he would. So I
Yeah.
think it is that as the films get more commercial, yeah, they do become fantasy over horror. And
Yeah.
it's not till New Nightmare, which is still a bit of both, but New Nightmare is back to the darker side, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I think, and I've got to check this, I think part 5 is actually now a 15 certificate.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm sure
I have the Blu-ray box set, and they might be on that. I don't know, but I've never really looked.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the Blu-ray, and I think it's only got the one certificate on the cover. I might have dreamt
Right.
that. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm sure one of them. I mean, the first one's 15 now.
Is it?
Yeah, and quite controversially because I mentioned this in the first episode. Well, the censors are saying that because most of the kills are in a dream world and it's not really real, they put it down to a 15. I think it's just because everyone's seen it, and it's by today's standards, it's not like Terrifier, is it? But
No.
it's still quite harsh. I mean, all of them have got gory kills, but
Yeah.
like I said, like with the cockroach one, you wouldn't show it to a young kid, but anyone sort of, 14, 15 plus will love it, wouldn't
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
they? And then that's another draw to the movies,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people aren't fans of ratings of the movie, but I'm going to go through them anyway with you. On just want to see if you agree or not. IMDb have given it 5.6 out of 10, 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, 2.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I feel it's a little low,
I
personally.
think they're a little mean. I think it deserves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a solid 10 movie, but I think it's better than average, and those scores kind of suggest average. I think it's better than that.
Yeah. So I think me doing a bit of spy work, you gave it 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Which
above
is
average.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's for me it is. It's and also you don't really, with any of these films, you don't really need to have seen any of the others to enjoy them, which a lot of horrors you would have to,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think underrated sequel, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Where would you place it in your favorite Freddy movies?
Oh, crumbs. Probably 4th.
So
Yeah, maybe 5th, because obviously I sometimes forget about A New Nightmare, but definitely the first one will always be my favourite. And then I kind of flick between 3 and 2 as my favourite sequel. I know 2's sort of almost the red-headed stepchild of the Nightmare franchise, but I really like it despite its flaws. And I really like the portrayal of Freddy in that film more than any of the other films. So I'll go between 2 and I understand that 3 is the better made movie. So they switch a lot. So then maybe New Nightmare, so 5th, I would say. But that's not a bad thing.
No. Yeah, it's still a quality sequel,
Yeah.
And I mainly I think it's people remember the third one, Wes Craven. It's got people who went on to become bigger stars, and it's a great film. The second one, people have come round to and are discovering again, maybe because of the sort of queer undertones and stuff that weren't picked up on before.
Maybe.
So that's talked about more.
Yeah.
And whereas 4, 5, and 6, no one talks about. And I don't think I don't think it's fair on any of them, but I think it's more unfair on 4 because it's definitely the best out of those 3.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it now, and hopefully, if people, we do spoilers, but can't really spoil a film like this. So if anyone's listening and haven't seen it,
it's been out.
Do it now.
40 years. If you haven't seen it by now, then you deserve to have it spoiled.
Exactly. Yeah. And going back to the second one, don't know if there's I think it might just be Cineworld, but it's getting a re-release for its 40th anniversary.
Is it?
Part 2, which is And I don't know if it was when I was recording or when we weren't recording, but when I done the episode on part 2, I was having a moan about how you always get the first one at the cinema, and I want to see the second one. And then now it's got a release. It's in some point in October.
Oh, okay. Shown, so. Hopefully our local cinema show it. Which I know they're showing the first one over Halloween, so they need to show the second one.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like you get my local cinema, like every year they seem to show the Spider-Man films again or the Harry Potters again. It's the same ones. Even Back to the Future seems to come up every year or so, but you only get the first Nightmare on Elm Street. So that's
My
the fight for this.
my local cinema are having a John Carpenter season over Halloween, though. They're showing pretty much all the original, like the early Carpenter films, like Escape from New York, The Thing, Halloween, The Fog. So that's good. That's me sorted in
It's
October.
that's really cool. Well, one of the Ipswich cinemas, King Street in Ipswich, is showing a extended cut of Halloween I've never seen, which apparently was like a TV version with an extra 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, isn't it like it's almost like they've added some of the Rob Zombie stuff. Obviously it was made before the Rob Zombie stuff, but the Dr. Loomis with young Michael kind of thing to flesh it out a little bit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've got a ticket. I've never seen it or even heard of this version, so I'm quite intrigued.
Yeah, they did it for
But
TV.
always, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Right. So I think we've been yakking for quite a while now.
Okay.
But I just want to just so people know where can they find your work and
My work is all
what have
on
you got
Amazon.
coming?
Yeah, my work's all on Amazon. I've just had a book and a short story come out. You can find them on Amazon and Kindle. And my next book should be a book called House of the Burnt Woman, which is a ghost story set in 1600s Venice, just after the plague. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Hopefully, that won't be too long in the making.
Oh, so and you got a website, Facebook, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm all over Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads. You can find me on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So plenty of no excuses not to find your stuff.
Absolutely not. No.
Excellent. And just one last question, just because randomly thought I'd ask you. I know you're really, really into horror, but have you got a favorite horror film?
I have like 5 that flit about depending on my mood usually. So the original Halloween is always in the hovering around the top spot. I love Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Capella version. I love that movie. The Thing, Evil Dead 2, and An American Werewolf in London. They're the 5 that kind of flit about a bit.
So mainly 80s horror then. That's the
Mainly, yeah.
that's your vibe. Yeah. I mean that's for me it's the same, but that's the era of films I got into, I was at that age, sort of teenager in the 90s, so I was seeing all these on video.
Yeah.
So that's great. Just once again, massive thanks for joining me for this.
No, thanks for having me. Fun.
And if you're up for coming back for any of the other seasons, I'll definitely give you a shout. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, let me know, mate. I'm always up for it.
Will do. Cheers.
Cheers.
Join me again for part 5 very soon. Adam Wybrey will be returning to the podcast for that one. Also, I've just released a mini bonus episode where I talk to Andy Piper, who is a movie producer who puts on a horror film festival in Sudbury, Suffolk every year. So please check that one out. That was fun. I really enjoyed that. And don't forget, please rate us on whatever service you listen to us on. That really does help. 5 stars would be great. Please write reviews, comments, get involved. We're on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to audio versions of this on YouTube. Don't get confused, they're not actual videos. We put the audio ones up there because people have asked. I've been Andy Martin, and I've really enjoyed talking about this one, and I can't wait to talk about part 5 very soon.
Hi, I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And we are childhood best friends with a true crime podcast called
The Criminal Crack. During each episode, one of us presents a true crime case to the other.
And the listener has no idea what the case will be.
So every reaction, question and twisted theory you hear is genuine and off the cuff.
So join us fortnightly on the platform of your choice.
And find us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok by searching @The Criminal Crack.
Bye-bye!
Keep on trucking.